I would now like to call this meeting of the Narragansett Regional School District School Committee to order. All rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed and recorded and is available to watch on both our Facebook and YouTube channels. We'll get started. The regular business, the approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting, May 23rd, 2024. So moved. Motion by Heather. Second. Second by Shauna. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Abstained? And I say yes. That is unanimous. There's 5 of us. Okay. Bills and payrolls. And see.
Want to attach those?
Right. And it does not look like we have a student representative here, although I ran into him last night at the Texas Roadhouse. He was a fabulous waiter. And it doesn't look like we have anybody for public input either, or NDEA. And I don't blame them.
I second that.
All right, so we'll move forward to our budget update for FY24. The updates.
Just closing it out with our last payrolls this week, processing them and, getting ready to start July 1. Moving on to new things.
Which leads us right into FY25. The updates for FY25.
There's still, the effort for our budget, of course, is the state is still haggling. We know that the lot may be 21st, I think is the 21st is 22nd, so they'll have to go into a supplemental budget, but we understand that it's a lot further along than it was last year, so we wait for their final vote, but we don't expect any changes that we haven't already discussed.
All right. That means that Anne Marie is up with our business manager report.
If you looked at all of the reports there, winding down, most of the grants are spent. There's a few that will be rolling over to next year. The general fund, like I said, we're closing out the final payrolls hopefully tomorrow. Then doing some cleanup. The last warrant doesn't get paid until July 15th. So we still have bills going in for things that are in commerce, so everything we have is in commerce, we're just waiting for the logistics to happen. There's no question that can go right into the technology votes too.
Yep.
So there's 2 leases, there's a Dell lease. That is for student Chromebooks, we do a lease every year for a certain number of Chromebooks. This year, the number that our money is buying is quite a lot less than it has been. So Jared had to do a little bit different planning on his technology plan. And the Apple lease is for iPads for the elementary school. Both of them are pretty standard. We do one for each of them each year, and they just roll. One falls off and we add a new one each year.
Do we know if there's a reason why there was such a substantial increase for the Dells? Is it?
It's both. It's both. The prices of things are just going up. So when he has his plan and he plans on like X amount of dollars for the payment, that is not buying as many devices as it used to.
Kind of like our groceries right now.
Yeah. Right. Somebody want to make a motion to approve the technology leases as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so a motion by Heather, second by Kat. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Abstained? And I say yes. It's unanimous. We are moving right along tonight. And Molly, it's now your turn for your curriculum and instruction update that we have been looking so forward to.
Why I came back.
Yep.
Thank you. Be riveting. It's gonna get me. Numbers aren't coming over here. Let me see. Oh, sorry. It's user error. I accidentally hit auditorium instead of Kiva. It's my fault.
So in the auditorium right now, it's being presented.
Absolutely.
Oh, we're in business. There. So I have quite a few agenda items that we're gonna get to under new business as well, but in terms of curriculum and instruction. I have our end of year benchmark data to present to you tonight. And we've done this quite a few times, so I'm gonna do it a little bit different tonight. I'm gonna try to consolidate our data and give you sort of a big picture. And then I really wanna give you some of our highlights as well. So when we look at our benchmark data overall, you'll see star reading on the left-hand side. And when we look at that pie chart at the top, that pie chart shows us students' achievement in terms of those benchmark areas. And so our big note there is that when we look at our reading scores, 54.3% of our students are reading at or above our benchmark. And when we look at our achievement level for math across the district, 65.7% of our students are falling at or above that end of year benchmark. So no surprise to us here because reading has been a big area of focus for us. We know that our math achievement has been higher than our reading achievement over the last few years. So this continues to be an area of focus for us. I've also included on the lower part of each of those sections is not just our achievement level, but now also our growth. So when we look at our reading data, 64.3% of our students across the district in grades K-12 are scoring at or above typical growth for their grade level when we look at beginning of the year to end of year. When we look at math, we have 65.2% making typical growth, meaning typical or higher growth. So that doesn't necessarily, it's a little deceiving to hear it that way because I don't want you to hear that as there are 36% of students essentially not making growth. It means they're not making adequate growth. So as we really dive deeper into our data, we unpack a variety of different data reports to help us tell a more specific story about cohorts of students. So we look long-term at a cohort of students and we look at their growth rate from kindergarten to first grade to second grade to third grade to see what that story tells. As I showed you in our middle of the year data, our teachers dive in a little deeper and look at the data down to the strand level and the standard level to find out where there are strengths and gaps for groups of students or individual students and down to the individual student level. So this is sort of our big picture end of the year data. When we look at this by cohort, I want to highlight some really exciting growth areas that we've seen. Looking first at our kindergarten from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we had an increase in 12% of students now meeting benchmark, which is a lot. Our second grade that's for reading. Our second grade had a significant increase as well. We went from 44% of students on benchmark to 58% of students on benchmark. And when we look at math, we saw high growth in students meeting benchmark in grades 1, 6, and 9. So those are our pretty significant areas. One area that we really are going to be hyper focusing on putting a plan in place for would be our 5th grade for all subjects. And when you look here, you'll see a decline for both literacy and math with that cohort. This is not a surprise to us. This is a cohort we had a lot of focus on coming up into the middle school this year. The 4th grade data was challenging. We have added positions we have been able to fill to support this cohort, including the reading specialist position to help service some IEP needs, but also additional services for students when it comes to literacy. So we do have some continued work to do, in our middle school, specifically in that grade 5 now, moving to grade 6 cohort. So over the summer, we're gonna be digging deeper into this as well as some other data points to really triangulate our data. We'll be looking at this, we'll be looking at their unit assessments or MCAS scores, to really put a more strategic plan in place for that cohort of students. But again, some areas I do wanna highlight for you, is, our kindergarten saw growth in achievement from 64% to 58%. Our first grade not only saw growth in the percent of students achieving, we also saw a pretty significant drop in the students that fell into that urgent intervention category, which I know isn't up here on the screen, but that red category, we had a decline in students in that category. Second grade, I have to say, across the board, we saw pretty significant increases both for literacy and math in the percent of students that were meeting or achieving benchmark. And on the other side of the coin, we saw significant decreases. I mean, I'm gonna show you one, for example, right here. At the beginning of the year, 26% of our students were in that red zone, that urgent intervention. They ended the year with 13% of their students. They cut that in half, which was a lot of hard work. So not only are they growing kids on this end of the spectrum, but they're also bringing that bottom up as well. So the second grade data is really shining for us right now. Our sixth grade saw a similar pattern in terms of moving students from 2 or above benchmark for both literacy and math. And then our ninth grade math data had significant growth as well. So, yeah, oh, please.
I'm curious about the special ed aspect of it, like are those kids in these numbers and like are the gaps closing for the special ed numbers as well?
So this data is for all students,
Okay.
unless they're on a MCAS all plan or have an alternative assessment plan because of their IEP, which is a very, very small population of our students. So this data represents general ed, special ed, Title I, any student in our district, unless they have an alternative assessment plan. We do disaggregate the data and look at it by special education or students who, various subgroups. Off the top of my head, I don't have that information handy right now, but I can get you that information.
I'd be curious to see.
Yeah, it's a good question. So we do, like I said, we know we still have work to do, particularly in the middle school literacy realm. We did put in place this year some literacy and action classes to help increase the amount of literacy instruction students were getting. Specifically targeting some standards that we knew were focus areas for students coming up. We have had some staffing challenges that have, not to make an excuse, but there are some things that we are unpacking, to say, okay, where were there some inconsistencies for instruction with students? Was it in curriculum? Was it in staffing? Was it in, assessment and rigor, and so forth? Was it in intervention planning? So we really are unpacking and digging a little deeper into those areas.
Yay for our teachers.
What's that?
I said yay for our teachers, good job. Yeah. Hard work.
No, our teachers are working really hard this year. Analytic View has been a really helpful tool for them too. And so this year we really have been doing what I call the soft rollout of this platform with our teachers and their staff so that they could really kind of figure out how to navigate it. We were building it this year. So we were adjusting and changing what some of the data platform pieces looked like. So as we go into next year, we're going to focus a little bit more intentionally now on how and when do we use this and how do we make instructional plans, which we dabbled in at the middle of the year. You saw some of those sample action plans, particularly from our high school. And so we'll be putting some systems and structures in place to tighten that process up going into next year.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. All right, moving along. Looks like we have some surplus items. Over here. Is there a list here?
There's
Just the,
Something
yeah,
in
just what it
motion.
is, it just says supposed to be an attached list of very old and broken beyond repair MacBooks.
What's the last time?
Do we, was it last time?
Library.
That was
Yes.
the library.
Yeah.
I thought
I thought that the
think books,
MacBook might have
I
been
mean,
there in the
computers
library
were
and stuff, too.
in the library. That was.
I
my
don't remember
understanding.
anyone talking about it in the office that we had surplus.
Okay. We always just
Can certainly wait till.
wait till next time to address it. It's not pressing. That sound good, Emery? Just wait.
Yep, that's fine. I just leave them message.
All right. And, all right, now we get to move on to the superintendent formative assessment. So first, thank you, everybody, for completing your own version of Dr. Casavan's formative assessment. I think that this process went pretty well. I'm sure that you all have some feedback on how we can improve it for next year. If we just do a quick like reminder of how the process works, it is a 2-year cycle, and so this process tonight is the formative assessment, so it's a checkpoint in the middle of the goal setting process where we weigh in and measure where Dr. Casavan is in terms of achieving his student learning goal and professional practice goal, as well as the 2 district improvement goals. So our report here is set up with an overall evaluation for the professional practice student learning goals and then the 2 district improvement goals, and then a section for each one of the performance standards with the indicators built in. So let's see. If we look at, we're going to pull this up on.
Yeah, we're also going to put it up on. Yeah, for some reason, we tried to trim the,
Can't get that one to
I
turn.
think at the front facing.
Yeah,
We have it on there.
It's fine.
It's me trying to connect to the auditorium.
Second, so.
This,
I think I have Jared in my ear being like, when's the last time you updated your?
Yeah, that's exactly. Shut your computer down, update your computer.
Here we go, we're in business.
Alright. So that front page there, is the overall performance on the performance standards is the second part for step 2. So we'll look at those first. So the performance standards are sort of chunks of what a leader or even an educator does within the district. And the indicators are more specific pieces of information that we look at when we're deciding if there's progress towards meeting the goals that were put forward and just meeting those professional expectations in general. So Dr. Casavan scored proficient in all 4 standards. And then for the professional practice, student learning and district improvement goals met in all of those as well. So we'll go through, we'll do a quick summary of the feedback. What Jen and I did was we took all of the feedback that was provided and put it in the evaluation, so as not to discount somebody's, personal feedback that they provided, because all of it does matter. So overall, the committee was very, first of all, impressed with the format that I know took a lot of time to put together. It was definitely so much easier this year, having the links tied to the indicators, tied to the goals. You made our job so easy, so thank you for doing that.
a lot of the credit goes to honestly, Molly, but we've tried, we've worked on, thank you for the feedback. We're trying to make it as easy as possible. It's because it's really easier for us as well.
Yeah, and then having those links be live, so as you update those documents, we have access to them is really key, so that was super helpful. Let's see here. We recognize your commitment to meeting the academic and non-academic goals of all of the students in the district, your attention to using data to inform everything that you do within the district. And many of us noted that the culture within your building seems to be wonderful. There's a lot of positivity and a lot of a can-do attitude, which is really important. So if I flip to page 4, should be, yep, that's where we are right now. If we look at the student learning goals, this part was beautiful as well. Lining up those indicators for which, what went with the student learning goals was amazing. So the student learning goal, is by next June. We'll identify and address students' needs across the academic and social emotional domains to ensure equitable educational opportunities for all students, to increase the percentage of students at or above grade level in ELA and math by 5%, and decrease behavior referrals by 5%. And that also links to the district improvement plan 1.1 and 1.2. There's more than enough evidence here to support that you're making significant progress towards that goal with the expectation that you will have met or exceeded for next year for the summative evaluation. The professional practice goal and those two indicators. So standard 1 evaluation, standard 4 continuous learning. Professional practice goal is we will ensure all administrators, teachers, and staff receive ongoing feedback and evaluation that is evidence-based, timely, specific, and actionable, which links to the school improvement plan 3.1 and 3.2. Again, ample evidence to support that you have met this goal. Your first district improvement goal is connected to standard 3, which is family and community engagement, and then standard 4, which is communication within your district for your educators and staff. And that goal is to strengthen relationships through communication that is timely, responsive, collaborative, and inclusive. Again, lots of evidence there, wonderful evidence that proves that you have met that goal. Which includes those snow day videos that we all love. I know I look forward to them. I can't wait until we have a snow day so I can see the videos. The communication surveys, especially including the students in those surveys this year. Wonderful. The additional meetings that you encourage community members to attend and school committee members to attend really makes that communication stellar. Moving over, district improvement goal 2. So that was connected to standard 3, which is management and operations of the district, specifically fiscal systems. And that goal was to improve district-wide systems to support learning growth and achievement. Analytic view, it was evidence, educator and administrator evaluation, all of the professional developments that were offered throughout the year. The learning walkthroughs that we've heard about, strengthening those TAT teams, new health insurance, ongoing ALICE training, the addition of the MVP program. We can go on and on, Dr. Cassidy, with all of the evidence that you and Molly have supplied here, and you have met that standard as well. So, go to the next page here. So if we just look at the standards, so for all of the indicators tied to goals, we have scored you as proficient. Again, the committee is very impressed with your data-informed decision-making and how much you emphasize that in all layers of leadership throughout the district. For standard 2, those 2 indicators that you've chosen to link up to your goals, which are scheduling and management information systems and fiscal systems, you've scored proficient in both of those. The committee highlighted that we really appreciate the evidence, the successes of this year's budgeting season and how much effort went into making sure that all of the important people that are involved in the budgeting process were involved and there were no surprises at the end. That's very much appreciated. As well as the time and attention that you spend and the district spends on the social emotional crisis and handling the social emotional learning of our students. For standard 3, which is family and community engagement, and those 2 indicators, which is engagement and communication, we have rated you as proficient. The committee recognizes that we did a lot of work this year with community surveys and student surveys, making sure that feedback guided all of your decisions, as well as the number of personal meetings you have had with people who request your time. I'm not sure you ever say no to anybody, so that's wonderful. People feel very connected to you and to the school. We recognize the positive culture that was within each building. One of the committee members even says, dare I say, happy. Happy is such a wonderful word. I don't know if we hear that too often in education, especially this day and age. It seems that it's just really hard, and it does feel happy. It looks happy, it feels happy. Then our last one here is performance standard 4. Your indicators were communication with your staff, so strong interpersonal, and written and verbal communication skills, and then continuous learning, so professional development. And the idea that you celebrate and encourage teachers to be reflective and to be lifelong learners. You score proficient in both of those categories. So overall, your committee is very happy with the work that you and your leadership team is doing. And we look forward to reviewing all of the evidence that is live here, as well as anything that you add throughout next year. I know we have end of year star data now that we can add, and continuing the work into next year.
I have some critiques for us. Can I do that? Like, for the assessment. I don't know where to bring that up, but I have some ideas for us, because this is the first time we've used this platform, right?
It's the first time we used that form, a copy for everyone to fill that out.
So I've looked up like a ton of examples. One, just because I'm used to writing IEPs, I feel like we need to have our lettering the same size and the font, like in each section the same size and like spaced out correctly.
So this is the, this is Desi's template.
No, I know, but like we copy and paste, right, and put it in.
Oh, yeah, so
So
generally.
like we need to like make sure that our copy and paste is the same font and the same
Oh,
size.
okay, yeah.
And spaced out evenly. And I also think that we all spend a lot of time writing our comments and very thoughtfully. And I don't want to know that someone might have, and I don't think she has, but I'm just saying this as a critique, like that someone might have like modified my statement or anything, but maybe next to each like comment, we write the initials of the student, the school committee member who maybe have written the comment that is posted in the platform. I don't know, just ideas.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk about that for next year when we head into the evaluation season, and figure out what works for everybody.
Just to, since you brought it up, just to, a comment, like when I got my form, I did find it was different, like who had access to it and who could have edited it, and I just thought that was a little off. So I went in personally, because it was mine, to change it, because I did, and I don't think there's any ill intent, but I do think that it would be good to know that, like,
And I
what
trust that
right
everyone.
is exactly what we wrote. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So maybe for next year, what we could do is when we make the copies, to just make sure that only the person whose copy it is has editing access to it, so saying.
Yeah, and then maybe when the comments are copied from that specific person's work, that the initial goes next to the comment that they.
Usually in this form, it's supposed to be a compilation, or, not even necessarily a copy and paste, but a
Usually it's a summary of it.
Now, each of our individual ones are still always going to be discoverable, so if Dr. Cassavant wants to see exactly which one I wrote, he is within his right to request. Because we could even, one thing we haven't done was probably should have printed these and signed them each, and then rescanned them in.
Yeah.
And then that way, if it's a PDF, now you don't worry about the fidelity.
I mean, I'm not personally worried that someone's doing that right now, but I'm just saying that it could happen, and I feel like that would be a good thing to, just cover this.
Okay, yeah, that's easy enough to make sure that.
I think it's a professional thing.
Yeah, sure.
No, that's okay. It's easy enough to do, so if this is the format that we use next year, we can make sure everyone's copy only gives editing access to the person whose copy it is. But what Heather said is usually how we handle it. It's usually a summary. I think it was tough because there was a lot of feedback provided this year, which is great. And it's really hard to know what exactly to put in there, especially because so much time and energy goes into providing the feedback, and it's hard if I tweak somebody's words or try to take two comments and merge them together, it would appear that I was messing with someone's comments or the origin. And we never want to do that. But, as with anything, it's important that, we consider the feedback for improving for next year. So we'll talk about.
One thing, oh,
Yeah, we can,
I was just saying, in doing last year being the first time I did it, I did some research about just other superintendent evals, and you can find them online. And it's both ways. I've seen initials next to people, committee members, or if there isn't, so.
Yep, and then that is, there's no. We don't have to, we don't have to say who gave what feedback, that is sort of what you're comfortable with. But certainly something that we can consider for next year when we start the process again, so we appreciate that feedback. If there is any other feedback, or I would entertain a motion to accept the formative evaluation.
I was just curious if Dr. Casavan or Mo wanted to say something. Yeah, you don't have to, I don't want to put you on the spot, I'm just.
Lord knows when you're evaluated in public, you quickly develop, honestly, a thick skin and first off, I want to thank everyone for the work that they've done, regardless of the format. This is a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Especially if you're not used to it. Now, we have members who are in the business, so about goals, and we talked a lot about that last year, about being evaluated on what you're, on what the goals are, et cetera. So I want to thank everyone for the work, because I would imagine that it's not easy to put all this down and, and collate it and then figure out what's what. I thank you for that. I said in my letter, my mid-year, that the work that, what I'm evaluated on, honestly, is the work of everybody else.
Right.
I just make it happen, or in other words, we make sure that it happens. Give them the resources, the time, the space to make it happen. So, for every positive that is here, it truly is a reflection on my administrative team, the teachers, the staff, whomever, just literally everyone else but me. Quite frankly, it's just about, making sure that we're keeping people focused and, getting them to where we need them to be. I will tell you that I'm far more critical of myself than folks actually, were. I take the goals very seriously. I get frustrated very easily when we're not able to move the needle. You saw some things today that I'm not pleased with, I'm not happy with. We need to do a better job. There's some circumstances that were well out of our control. We tried to hire people, to identify and to stem with the tide, in terms of some, especially, with literacy or reading in the 5th grade. We've known since the 3rd grade, that cohort since the 3rd grade, their scores were low. They were definitely in the hairs of COVID. And so, look, there are some things that can get in your way, but, we're very focused on that. All I can ever do is keep doing, the best that I can, and hopefully encourage the folks around me to do the same. Honestly, in terms of critique, I look forward to that. When I say look forward to it, no one wants to be critiqued. Feedback is one of those things, like critical feedback. It's great until you get it. And then you go, oh, that didn't feel so good, especially if you're working really hard at something. And I've said that often. But, with that said, if folks do have issue with one way or another, I am very open to hear that. And that can start a conversation, if nothing else. It's public record. All your comments are public record. So someone literally was listening tonight could say, I want everyone's comment and I want the names by them. Everyone knows that, and it's not a secret. So if the school committee, wants me to know where to improve, they certainly have the authority to do that. And just name the time and the place, and we'll talk through it. So certainly whatever, if I'm better, then the district's better, then the kids are better. And but I do appreciate the thoughtfulness. I think a lot of work goes into this on all ends. You have a lot of information here. If you have looked up, if I may, if you have looked up other superintendents' evaluations, Very, very rarely you're gonna see this much evidence per goal. Now, if we're not hitting the mark, if I'm not hitting the mark, then I wanna know that. But we offer a lot of information, not to snow you, not to bury you with it. But to show you that we are doing a lot of things, to try to do whatever the goal, is. And so, yeah, so we've got a pretty good, South of Cape Police, Molly certainly, took it to a whole nother level this year of how it's presented in terms of how the information is presented. So I definitely want to give both folks, my dues, but I'm open for any type of, constructive feedback. But thank you very much for the time in creating this.
So one thing that I wanted to add, is that I know when we look at the different categories for scoring, proficient is in that bright color, because that's what you're going for. However, I do think there's some areas that you in the district are clearly exemplary, and it is important that you know that. And I think that that's in the area of data informed decision making. I think the difference between proficiency and exemplary is more when you're modeling or you're an example for other districts. And you certainly are in this area for districts around us. For how well you collect, analyze, unpack data and use it to make decisions that truly benefit your students. As well as communication. I think sometimes we forget because we're in this district and our kids are in here. We sort of take for granted the communication and how much there is and how much we know about what's going on in our students' lives. It's not like that in every district and it's appreciated. And I think that you've made so many gains in the last couple of years in that area. And that you're open to, how can I bring more people in? And I think that in that area, you shine as well. And so this is our mid-cycle report. So we look forward to trying to check off some of those exemplary boxes for your summit for next year.
Well, and thank you, because again, if I may be candid as I try to be as much as possible, is that I'm at the point of my career where exemplary is great. If I get it or not, okay. All I care about truthfully is doing a good enough job to make this place better, which I want this place to be better. I want these kids to have more because they deserve it. I want these staff to have more. I want them, to be more engaged at times, but I also want to help them do that. So I will tell you that I appreciate all that. I think communication we can always improve on. We're trying and we've done some things, but I appreciate that. I got to tell you where we shine the most, and I think if you look at two districts who had to go and vote their budget the last 2 days, one of the striking similarities between both districts is they had no information. No one knew. And from a fiscal sense, do better. I'll put us up against anyone except for Worcester, who literally is my professional crush. The business. He knows that I've told him if I could wear a shirt, I would. He's fantastic. We've learned a lot from him. We've stolen a lot from him. He knows that too, I've told him. He's fantastic. Of course, they have a staff of 30, but they should, because Worcester is like 10 times this, maybe more than we are. But with you're talking about with Anne Marie, myself, and now Molly, we actually provide everyone with more information and backup than I think a lot of places with staff who triple ours. You have it very good. You really do. And I'm not saying that because of me, it's the woman to my right, quite frankly. And both women to my right. I'll throw one in too, but three. But in terms of you have it very good, and sometimes you don't know that until it's gone. You have one of the best business managers within 50 miles in any direction except for Worcester. He's fantastic. We both talk about it. I'm just saying it out loud. You do. You're very lucky. And so that's where I think we really have done a job in terms of the exemplary status person.
All right. So I would entertain a motion to accept the formative evaluation report as presented.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Shauna, second by Kat. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? And I say yes. Unanimous. We're gonna skip over the next part. And move on to the NASD conference, which I know we brought up at our last meeting. So that's scheduled for Wednesday, November 6th through Friday, November 8th. I'm pretty sure Susan sent out an email to the committee asking to let her know if you're able to attend, so you get that early bird discount. So let Susan know if you're planning on attending or not. So by July 15th, they put it in here. So by July 15th, Susan needs to know in order to save some money for the district. Okay. Next, we have the draft of the student handbook attached. We're not doing anything with this tonight other than just letting the committee know that it's here so you can review it. It has not been approved by the district lawyers yet, and I think there's a decent amount of changes in there, so we want to make sure that it gets the stamp of approval from the legal team before we start sort of digging in and talking about those changes, but it is here now, so you look at it, just know that there will probably be some additional changes to it before it's presented, hopefully at the next meeting.
The two major areas, if you don't mind, the two major areas, if you're interested in like, gosh, what are the big areas to look at? Would be the behavior and discipline section. We worked really hard with our admin team and some other folks to kind of outline different tiers of behavior and what would be some proactive, both consequences, for lack of a better word, and also restorative practices. So you'll see a lot of change in the behavior discipline section, and then you'll see significant changes in this dress code section that our equity committee and other folks have had quite a bit of input on. So those are the two major areas I would recommend if you are wanting to spend some time before the finalized version comes your way for approval. Those would be the two areas I would recommend you spend time.
I was just gonna say, I was looking through it and I did notice like, so there could be changes and updates, but I'm glad to know that it's still being worked on, so, yeah.
If you have feedback beforehand, please send it my way.
That's what I was wondering, okay,
Yeah.
thank you, I'd love to do that.
Please.
And then we have a revision to our program of studies for an amazing reason, because now we have the MVP program that needs to be in our program. So that is on page, is it 28?
38.
38, you would have an 8 in it, so it's little to 38. Here are the additions for the MVP Academy. So we talked about this at our last meeting. We've got carpentry and electrical are the two shops that they can take. And so the descriptions are in there, how many credits they are, what level they are. Everybody's had some time to look at it. I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the, hold on, it's like to update, motion to approve, or to update rather, the 2024-2025 program of studies inclusive of the MVP program. Who was my first?
I was.
Cassie, second. Motion by Kat, seconded by Heather. Any questions or comments?
I just had a quick question, did we come up with these, or was it more like working with money as well? Was it a?
This was so the description itself was a collaboration with the 3 sending school districts and Monty Tech. The credits are specific to districts, so districts decide what the credits they allot for the program are. And so we looked at both the description, the course content for each of the courses, more specifically, mass core requirements, and what we need to be able to assign credits for the students coming in with what we're able to provide for academic programming here as well on their academic week when they're here. And so the description is the same, it'll be in the shared handbook, we have a shared program handbook, those descriptions you'll see word for word, but the credits will be assigned at the district level.
As a non-teacher, thank you.
Thanks for asking.
All right, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstained? And say yes. Unanimous. All right, next, we realized last meeting, actually, I think Sean pointed out that would be assigned committee members to our to be liaisons to the other committees that we work with.
Yeah.
We forgot our PTO liaison. And we are more than willing to vote for Kat to consider being, or to continue to be on the PTO as their liaison. Okay, yeah. Somebody want to make a motion to appoint Kat as the liaison?
Motion that.
Okay.
can I just be a stickler about this? It says
Yes.
NRSD PTO, it's TES PTO.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the high school might love it, but.
So then I'm actually gonna, I need to amend the motion then, because when I read it, I said NRSD, so, do we do that?
You said it, so you didn't actually say
Okay,
it.
so then I'm gonna say it correctly this time. Thank you, Sean.
Sorry.
So I would entertain a motion to appoint Kat Buell as the liaison to the TES PTO.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Staying, and I say yes. Thank you. Thank you, Kat, and thank you, Sean, for your attention to detail.
Drives me.
No, it's a good thing. Definitely a good quality. Okay, time for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I know that I sent an email out and, we, obviously it's been posted, but we did receive resignation from Matt Holloway, our PPS director. He is moving on to another district. And so we, will have him until August 1st. And again, we've posted a position, I think it was either Thursday or Friday of last week. And so we're in the, we're in the throes of that process. You might notice that there are parking lots have some.
I did notice.
I
we
noticed.
noticed this
So,
morning, this afternoon. this evening.
We're full, we've talked about that. We went from 62 seniors, give or take, to will be 90 next year. So all of a sudden, when you have 90 seniors and let's say 60 of them drive, or 50 of them drive, it's gonna be far more than when you have classes of course 60. And, we've increased staff numbers by 3, 4, or 5, 6, all in different places because so many kids. So what we've done is we've expanded, we've created a brand new parking lot on the, really it's the back door to the cafeteria, the receiving area of the cafeteria that needs to be lined. We have a long central office, I'll call it the central office parking lot, but there was a pretty good, washout that needed to be fixed, but that will also turn into parking, believe it or not, so we'll just park this way. Think of the woods, right? If you drive in, there's like woods, but there's some trees, can be nosed in. Across the street, that dirt parking lot was someone was gonna drown eventually, so that was fixed. Yeah, people were fishing in it, at one point, but that has been leveled out and the entry and exit ways have, also, been done. So we're working with the police department because again, we're always looking to see, and we have these parking issues, but yet we have an entire parking lot in the back that's open, right, for most of the day, but that's where the buses drop off kids. And so it really was in response to some safety issues that were identified, I don't know, 3 years ago, which again, we still have a lot of kids, so I'm not sure if it changed much, but we'll be talking with the SRO, I think sometime tomorrow or early in the week, following week. But we have those and we're going to be, we're actually having to create a parking plan. So more to come on that. We actually discussed this a year ago, but there was a very famous court case about two genders shirt. student, I think it was in Middleborough Middle School, wore a shirt, I think it was Middleborough. If incorrect, please forgive me, but was told to take it off, went through this whole process, and went all the way to the federal appeals court. And the feds upheld the barring of the shirt. And they don't know, so the school acted appropriately as in accordance with its handbook. It's a very interesting case if you're interested in law. First Amendment rights come into play here, but in schools, kids do have First Amendment rights, but they are abridged a bit, and if it can. And there's some very interesting caveats to all this, so we'll watch it to see if it goes any further, but it's been upheld. And I thought that was interesting to bring up, because we actually, a lot of what they're probably looking at is our attorneys are probably looking at the dress code, and not only that, in the handbook, et cetera, because some of this stuff is, it's made it to this far. So I thought that was just kind of an interesting kind of intersect. And last but certainly not least, graduation was fantastic. And once again, the folks who actually make it all happen did a great job. If you were there, the speeches were fantastic. The crowd was well behaved. It wasn't too hot, thank God. It was just a great night. It was a great night, and it's one of my favorite and saddest days of the year to see a bunch of kids you've known for a while leave. And you're happy for them, but selfishly you want them to stick around. Well, maybe not all, but a lot. You want them to stick around. So graduation went fantastic. And that's again a credit to the high school and all the folks that actually put that together.
Huge scholarship.
Oh, yeah, scholarships, thank you, sorry, I didn't see the document. So. There it is. So, for a small district, I have to tell you, I don't know, I'm sure there are districts that are as small as us who have this type of money for scholarships, but I'm gonna start with the known. The Anthony T. Safka Scholarship has been in existence since, I guess, 2008, yeah, thank you. And it was a very large sum of money that was obviously based on behalf of the Safka family for scholarships. So for 15 years, the $1,000 scholarship was given out to the top 10 students of the graduating class. Mr. Safka's brother, Constantine, I'm sure I say that right, managed his estate. He passed away in 2022. And at that time, both brother estates were liquidated in the Narragansett Regional High School. Was left over $1 million to provide scholarships to students. The funds are managed by Vanguard Charitable, and each year on March 31st, the value of the funds examined and a check for the amount of will be given out depending on that. But this last year, 2024, we received a check for $66,667 to be distributed to a number of students based on a certain criteria. So that's in next year, we are hopeful that 20 members will receive $1,000 and go from there. So that's fantastic. And, obviously for folks to think about Narragansett, in their estate planning is just something incredible as far as I'm concerned, and certainly generous beyond words. We also received another scholarship, Brian Ward Library donation. Brian Ward grew up in Phillipston and graduated from Narragansett. He was the class of 1964. He also served in the Narragansett Regional School Committee for over 20 years, many years of which he was the chairman. Mr. Ward left $5,152, a donation to the Narragansett High School Library. And this donation, in essence, already been used to purchase the ebooks for the library, which we discussed. Something that was a surprise, but another surprise came literally in the mail one day in early or late fall, is that the estate of Paul and Irene Fedette left the Narragansett Regional School District $1 million, a little over $1 million from the state of, again, this was Fedette. They were longtime residents. Paul graduated from Templeton High School in class of 47, and from the Worcester Boys Trade School with a degree in drafting and mechanical engineering, with the class of 1950. Paul was the United States Air Force Green War vet, serving from 51 to 55, where he received the National Defense Medal, Good Conduct Medal. He was also a sales engineer employed by the Running Company for over 40 years prior to his retirement. Paul and I, we never had any children of their own. So obviously this, you know, this will benefit generations of kids from Narragansett for, I don't know, many years, you know. So there are no restrictions of this money. To be very frank, no restrictions on it. We decided to do the prudent thing is we didn't make the scholarship available immediately when we received it. First off, there's a lot of stuff that has to go on. You just don't, you know, cash a check and just start moving forward. But we're going to be working with the guidance department this upcoming year to set some parameters, you know. But in a span of one school year, we received $2 million worth of, you know, well, scholarships to be utilized. So that is just an amazing thing for such a small district, and obviously speaks to the character of these folks. So yeah, so a lot of big things to come, and as we have more kids coming through, this becomes even more well, it's certainly going to go a long way, you know, for all these kids, but we have more kids now and hopefully will benefit from that, so.
It's amazing, and it certainly speaks to the character of, you know, these amazing people who have set these scholarship opportunities for us, but it also speaks to the character of the school district and the community as well. I think we often, high school, middle school, especially high school, is such an important time in someone's life, and even though you move on to other things, college or military or family, you start to really become who you are in high school. You start to figure out what drives you, what you're passionate about. And so maybe, you know, in the twilight of people's lives, they're starting to think back to where did you become who you were, you know, and wonderful that Narragansett is where, you know, those things were happening for people, and $2 million is absolutely amazing opportunity for our students here.
It is. And last, but certainly not least, you know, we've certainly have talked about really expanding some of our, you know, some more, you know, special education services throughout. You know, we know about Thrive. We've talked about Thrive quite a bit this year and last, which is at the high school. And really finding a continuum of services has been really on the forefront of what we've, you know, to be able to accomplish. And so we have an opportunity to create what we're going to call Aspire and one for Templeton Elementary School. Now, for those who were around when we created Thrive, when Thrive was created, we were very careful to say that we're going to take a very slow and methodical, you know, process with this. So I won't go so far as to say that we have more questions than answers. That's not true. We have quite a few of the answers, but as we develop this kind of build the plane as you're flying it, as we've used before, you know, we're gonna take stock in, you know, what the staff are, you know, are relaying, and keeping a very critical and close eye on the services that we're able to provide. So right off the bat, let me just say that, you know, this is from Matt, who's created this, but he's also called home base, but it's not a fully separate program. Rather, it's a twice a day opportunity for elementary students with significant disabilities to have interactions with peers who have similar disability profiles. Students inspire a morning meeting together every day. Those will circle as well, depending on their IEP needs. They may come to the Aspire classroom for other services throughout the day. And as you put it, we'll probably, you know, we'll expand. They have an academic instruction block as well. What we want to, you know, certainly convey right off the bat that this is not a sub-separate program. I think that is the, you know, the first thing I want to just get out there You know, we're, at this point, we're want to be fully included, we want to, include all students within the regular ed setting. This is just a great way to make sure that, again, touch base, working with not only a special education teacher, but our BCBA. And, giving them an opportunity to do discrete trials, work on things that they need to work on. And we'll be able to do so without adding a teacher at this point in time. We're going to utilize existing staff to do this. And again, the location of where, like the physical location of this classroom will be in the classroom that we use for extended day. Right now, it technically in the very, very beginning of time was the quote unquote the band room. Well, we don't have necessarily a band at the elementary level, but that space was used for extended day home base. It's still going to be used there. It's still used for extended day, but it'll be a classroom primarily. And so the extended day folks will be more of a visitor rather than the occupant of the space. And so some things will need to change, in terms of aesthetics. Some of the things in the class in that space, but that's where we've identified, where this program will go. In a weird way, it's the only space left. So it's like, well, great, I'm glad we have the space. It wasn't like we had like 5 or 6 options. So this is really really our first kind of step into the Aspire realm or programming. We have other programs listed and identified at this point in time for, throughout the middle school and the high school, post-grad, and of course we have Thrive. Again, a lot of these right now are conceptual. Certainly they have merit, but they're going to require, that there are staffing, and it's going to require money to make all of this, viable at some point, and space. We have to keep kind of going back to this whole space thing, because if you told me right now that I had to create, a spot 2 at the middle school, I'm not sure that because we don't have any available, not that we wouldn't make something happen, but it's not like we just have space just ready to go. And then, of course, that also was the high school, right? So we're full. But in any event, this is where we're trying to programmatically start at the beginning with this Aspire program. We're pretty excited about it. And again, a lot more to come as we kind of flush out, these, the issues or the like for, not issues, but in terms of how does a kid get into Aspire, right? Obviously gonna take, obviously a team meeting, but they're gonna have to meet a specific criteria to do that, but it's not like they're going to stay there the entire day. That's just not how that's not how it's built, basically. So, any questions?
This document is available on our website under the special education page, so if you wanted to look further at this, I know it's not in your packet. It is on the district website under special education.
Do we have any other items that have presented themselves in the last 48 hours? No, okay. Any comments from school committee?
I can just say a quick one. I
Sure.
saw, I saw the notice that went out about, the Alice, the mock drill that Templeton posted. And I don't usually talk about a parent role sitting here, but it's hard when you see the pictures of police doing, a drill. in those rooms or those hallways, because when I'm in there with little kids, right? My kids, or, so I think that was the most striking part. It was hard, even though I'm looking just at a picture. So I'm so thankful to all of you that put it together and with Templeton Police, but it's just unfortunate that we have to do it, but I'm thankful that we did. And again, it's just hard to even talk about right now, so I never wanna have to, you know, have any further discussion other than it's just the training that we must be prepared for, so. Yeah, those walls, you know, they're for little kids, not for much else, so thank you.
The only comment would be to the staff of all three buildings that I hope they enjoy their summer break. It is well earned. Every year I feel like I'm saying this is the toughest year yet, but gosh, it's getting harder and harder. But I really feel like all the educators in the district they do such an amazing job with their kiddos. I was fortunate enough to go on the Davis's Farmland trip with your wonderful daughter and about 100 screaming kindergartners, and at one point I leaned over and said, "How do you do this every day?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh," but it was so well done, it was so much fun. The kids were so excited, and it's a reminder of how hard it is to really be in education these, in today's day and age. But those educators shine, and I really hope they get the rest that they need over break.
I said that to a third grade teacher on a field trip just to add to your, I'm like, you have to handle all this and she's, so.
But they do it without even like blinking, like they're just like everybody's got a sticker on their back and the chaperones had pat move, like the amount of thought that goes into that process, like the anticipation of what can go wrong and what to do, it's just effort, it looks effortless. I know it's not effortless, but it looks effortless on there. Well said, thank you to all of our education district. And all staff really, because it takes an entire staff to get through some weird. All right, we'll do a quick update for our subcommittees, finance and facilities. I was not there. I actually think we did not have a quorum for that meeting, so it's just a general discussion. I don't have any meeting minutes from that. District operations, we met last Tuesday, I believe. We talked about the MVP program, did an update on the program, and then we looked at some technology policies that were new. The MASC put them out, and we realized as we were looking through them that we're gonna have to look at our own technology policies and change some coding and then update some policies. So poor Jared, setting on a vacation, we asked him to start looking at those when he comes back. Poor Jared. Hopefully Jared's enjoying his vacation. So when we reconvene in the fall, we'll start looking at those policies and sorting them all out so we can update those. Was there any?
Yeah, but that said, so no new update for you.
How about CPAC?
Yeah, same.
Okay. Cat, your PTO update?
Yes, so I was virtual because I had to get to a baseball game. But so did our note taker, Jess, so she was just texting me the highlights, she had them handwritten, and she sends her regards to everyone. But our fourth grade dance was well attended, that's basically what we talked about at the last meeting. It seemed everyone was having a good time, we had no food left over, no drinks, like, it was just great. We have a new account that has been opened. All the money from student activities has been transferred over into the new account along with the Square One Art fundraiser money. We'll be receiving a check next week from the karate studio for money for the karate nights. They want to come back and take pictures with the PTO and a big check. We won't know the final number until we receive the check. The officers were voted on. The president is Kristen Pecos. The vice president is Colleen Reddy. I hope I'm saying that right. REIDY. Treasurer is Katie Williams and the secretary is Jess Smith. We'll have a meeting to discuss open house engagement ideas before school starts in August, and most of the meeting focused on the dance. And And that's the highlights. Those are the highlights.
I just say I love that there's a fourth grade dance, like a way to just celebrate those kids as they
Yeah,
move up here to the fifth grade. I love it.
there was a lot of, it was really well attended, yeah. I couldn't see like the whole, fun part of the dance because I was guarding the stage, but apparently Jess got on the mic and she was, DJ Jess for the night, so.
So thank you, Kat, for that. Gender Advisory Council liaison, so we'll get an update. Well, actually, we won't have an update from her until after she gets started back up again in the fall. And then for an update on legislation, so the Senate did pass the bill to, raise the per pupil expenditure to 110, so yay, that's amazing. The only other thing I could think of to add would be that, and I don't think we talked about this, that, MTELs are sort of getting restructured to be more, to better create more diversity in professionals who want to become licensed. So we'll see some changes in how, educators can get licensed through the MTEL process. Oh, that I can think of right now. We have any correspondence? No. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, August 15th at 5:30. Any need for executive session?
No.
No. All right, does someone want to make a motion to adjourn? Hank's not here, so someone else needs to do it.
So moved.
Jeff, good.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, so motion by Jeff, second by Kat. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same, and I say yes, we are adjourned. Jeff.